my sisters, higher we shall go, moving forward.
A prudent woman is a woman who will join hands with other women and men to make sure that the society is a better place. For a woman and anybody, be ready for your opportunity when it comes. You need to stay focused. You need to understand your why, your purpose in life. You were created for more. You were created to make impact while being somebody's wife. For every girl out there, don't give up. So it's women o'clock and it's time for the world to move ahead.
Prudent woman, virtuous women, together.
My name is Hasiya Hassan Audu. I would want to be addressed simply as Hasiya Hassan Audu. I'm a very simple personality. I work with NNPC Retail, a subsidiary of NNPC Limited. I have nearly 2 decades of work experience, and I love what I do. I love my job, and I'm passionate about the girl child and women empowerment, and it's something that unconsciously, in fact, I can't even, if you want me to tail back to when I started, I honestly really won't, but I just knew that I never wanted to see a woman cheated for the fact that she's a woman, you know, in the society. And even in the university, in fact, I really didn't know. It was until recently I met some classmates of mine. They were saying, because they call me women leader, and this was from university days. Like I didn't, when, you know, then you were just doing your thing. You had no inkling of really exactly of all of these things. Yes, I dabbled a bit into the student politics at the time, but it wasn't something, I did it towards the latter part of my university days. But of course, for every woman that was, you know, maybe silenced or maybe, you know, just pushed aside or waved aside because of the fact that she's a woman and maybe she should be seen and not heard, which is a lot of what we get from the area that I come from, the northern part of Nigeria. You know, I would want to speak for her. I don't even mind being the one cheated, but if you cheat another woman, I would speak up. First off, I studied a course, building technology. It was more male-dominated than female. So we're just a pocket few of us, you know, in the class. So, and then coming out again, I'm working in the energy sector, the oil and gas sector, which is a boys' club, we all know, you know. So it's hard for a woman. You have to work twice as hard. You know, you have to do twice as, in fact, twice is a little. You have to prove your onions really and prove your worth, you know, for you to be listened to and given a space at the table. And for me, these days, I even tell people, don't wait for your space at the table. When you bring value, a space will be created for you. And if a space is not created for you, madam, bring your chair and your table and people will come and congregate with you because you're adding value to the society. So for associations that I belong to, very notably, I'm a member of Women in Energy, Oil and Gas. I'm the National Director, External Relations for Women in Energy, Oil and Gas. I'm also a member of CBW Africa, Commonwealth Business Women Network Africa. I'm also a member of Women in Grassroots Politics. I'm very passionate about us having the women special seats for women bill, you know, approved in Nigeria. It's very important. Women have we need that push really. You know, some men will say, why do they want the special seat? You know, they should go and contest like the rest. The men have dabbled into politics way before women, so there is need for that extra effort to make sure that women's presence are recognized and felt in the political arena. And the truth is, like it or not, if we want to be truthful to ourselves, the men will also acknowledge this. If you want to succeed in a war, you cannot succeed when half of your soldiers are left behind. You have to bring the women to the forefront as well. We are not coming to compete with the men. We're coming to work side by side with the men. And women, you know, God is a very awesome God. He created us in a very special way. Men have their strengths, I must confess, you know, apart from physical strength. They have areas that they are very good with. If you want a man to do, you know, you would, or if you want certain things done, you know, you tell a man, and then there's a way they go about it. But women have this intricate way of having this 360 review of whatever needs to be done. They take everybody into consideration, the community, not just the women, the children, the impact on the environment. We have this broader view of things, and that is why at most decision-making tables where you have a woman, in fact, study has shown, this is verifiable, study has shown that where you have women as board members or even board chairmen, those companies tend to even do better because the women lead with empathy. And that is the strategy for leading. If you lead with empathy, that means you have a mind, you understand everybody's point of view, and you take all of that into consideration and come up with something that is very great and very good that can move your company, your nation, your community forward. That is what we need. So we need more women at decision-making tables at this time T. If we want Nigeria to move forward, if we want Africa to move forward, if we want the world to move forward, it is a time for equity-based leadership. And I think that is what True Prudence is about. True Prudence is bringing all the women together, acknowledging our challenges. Yes, we acknowledge our challenges, but also understanding the power of collective action. That is what prudence is, because prudence is something that makes you think, show care towards the future and have thoughts, center your decisions around something that would impact positively on the future. So if we want a future where we are successful, where our economies are soaring, where we're being lifted from recession to prosperity, which is the case that is happening in Nigeria under the leadership of our dear President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is very important that more women appointments are done and women are given special reserved seats and the voice of the woman is heard. Because the truth is, there's a saying that goes, and I completely believe in it, that the woman is the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. So if the woman is the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world, why are we not exploring it as Nigerians? We should explore it as Nigerians. We should explore it as Africans, and the world should explore it. So it's women o'clock, and it's time for the world to move ahead. I was the pioneer branch chairperson for women in Pengasson for NNPC retail branch, and at that time, in fact, it was such a great time because we had quite a number of women, and unlike what the public or society thinks that unionists don't, there are people who are not serious with their jobs. We were the top in our departments, in our respective departments. I remember then most of the rankings we get at 10%, 7.5. The least I ever got was 7.5, even at that time. So we were women with purpose, we led the branch with purpose, and after that I became the zonal chairperson for women in Pengasson. I covered the 19 northern states. So I led the women for that. And in that time, we made quite a number of, projects, that made very great impact. I will mention just but a few. We commissioned an e-library in Kabusa. Yes, the government, I can't quite remember the full name of the school, but it was the government secondary school for Kabusa, an e-library. And for me, that was one of my projects that it really, at the time I understood the essence for the project, but it was until like a year later when I saw the fruits that we yielded, what we nurtured from that project. Because the truth is, sometimes, you just go planting seeds and you don't know which one will germinate. On the day of the launch, we saw young girls that were in tears out of happiness seeing a computer, because we donated computers. We had a space in the school, and then we converted it to a computer library. So we donated computers to them, taught them, got someone who was going to teach them how to use computers, and all of that. In fact, they were so excited. Some of them, when we interviewed them, they said they only have been hearing about computers, they read about it. When they teach them theoretically, but now they're able to see it live. They're able to work on it. You could see the excitement. And we did a follow-through of these girls and these students. The launch of that e-library birthed the quest for a lot of girls to read energy-related courses, and that is what we clamor for as women in energy, oil and gas. Because the truth is, getting more women in the energy, oil and gas space does not just resonate after you have graduated from university. You need to catch them young. You need to even go to up to the primary schools, primary school STEM girls, which we're very passionate about. And for me, that was a STEM girl project that we saw the impact. We saw girls who started saying, oh, I want to read computer engineering, or I want to read computer science, or I want to read engineering. These were girls that, in fact, a year after we launched that e-library, there was this young girl. In fact, I was so teary, I was so emotional. She said she used the computer. She has done a lot of research. And one of the researches that she did at that time was that she was able to discover the benefits of jatropha seed as to be able to produce oil, biofuel. That was very, very great, coming from a young girl in secondary school who had no knowledge of how to use a computer until we did that launch. So you see, for me, why I say this is not to necessarily blow our trumpet, as women in Pengassan or as women in energy, oil and gas Nigeria, but to let everybody know that the little seeds you plant, the little ways we impact the lives of these children have a way of spiraling even beyond what we know that it is. So for me, it was really great. We had a lot of girls. Some of them are already in universities now, because that was about 4 years ago. Some of them are in universities now, and that has changed the trajectory of their lives, because maybe they would have, because we live in a continent where there's a bias for women, that women should read hospitality related courses, women should read things, nursing, receptionist, and then when you say you want to be an engineer, or you want to be a pilot, or you want to be an aeronautic engineer, people are like, that's a man's course. What did you. So it has changed the narrative. It has reoriented those girls to know that success and being in the energy sector is not a thing of gender. It is about what you have up here, and what you have up here just needs to be encouraged to come out, basically. And that's what we did. Some other projects we did in Pengassan, and then were a sensitization of the girl child. We joined the part of Africa, and we had the end period poverty in secondary schools by 2030, because we realized that a lot of girls were missing school because they were on their periods. In fact, we went to certain communities where they use, I don't even understand for the life of me how that happens, where they use leaf when they're on their period. Some of them some of them say they sit on a bucket and wait for the days to pass. They're not able to really mingle. It sounds shocking, and this is Abuja. It happens in Abuja. Some of them miss school. Some of them, those days that they miss schools, they're having tests. Some of them are having, important lessons that they miss, and this affects the girl child eventually. So we launched pad banks in schools. Yes, so we had pad banks, and we had quite a number of NGOs, including our association, contribute to it. And these girls, because they're still young girls, they really don't, some of them don't know how to calculate, what's my cycle, 28 days, 30 days, they don't know. Some of them, the period just shows up. Some of them, they don't even, because they're children, really. A girl starts seeing her period from 9, 10. The period just shows up, and then they have to leave school. So in such a situation where the girl child starts her period while in school, you don't have to leave school. You stay in school, go to the health prefect or the health teacher. There's a pad bank where they'll give you 1 or 2 pads to use that can sustain you up until school has finished, and then you can go home and then, get yourself cleaned up and sorted. Then we also had the women empowerment project, where we taught quite a number of, I think about 36 women how to sew. In fact, all of them are, that was in Karimo. We did that with the Karimo village chief, because in all of this, we need to carry the community heads along. And the essence for what we did then, we got women that were like role models in the community, and we had the chief of Karimo nominate women that will, because we wanted a train the trainer situation. We didn't want every time, because what we see sometimes is, you train, and that's why sometimes certain associations become fatigued at some point. because you're training. So, but if you train the trainer, it doesn't stop you from training too, as the first line of trainers, but you've also empowered another woman to train. So the knowledge that we instilled in them is, learn this, you're going to make money out of it, but you're going to dedicate a day in the week, differently for all of them, that you would call girls and train them. So we had that for sewing. We had quite a number of them start sewing. Some of them were in school, some of them were widows, some of them were elderly. So it was different age ranges. We did that. We did soap making training as well for them. So in fact, a couple of them, that was a low-hanging fruit, and they were excited because, a lot of them started making that soap, and they said, in fact, their children, they also taught their children, they taught their neighbors. So what they do basically, the knack for, what do I eat, or transportation for the children to go to school, they were able to get those menial, and which for me speaks to the empowerment of a woman. Really, when you empower a woman, you empower the world, because the woman really thinks, and I'm not being biased when I say this, and sometimes when I speak like this, it seems like I'm speaking out of so much passion, because I've seen these things happen. It's not something I read in the book. When you empower the woman, you empower the world. The woman is thinking, how do I empower my children? How do I empower my husband? How do I empower my community? I don't want to keep this to myself. And that is what we saw in the case in Karimo. When we empowered those women, they empowered a lot of other women. And when we had another area that we wanted to empower women, there were women who were willing, that we had trained, to come and be the trainers for these women. They were more than willing. And they were, in fact, it was most of the time when we have this it's like monitoring and evaluation of some sort, is a very, very emotional for me, because you see the impact. What you thought was little, you see how it is spiraling and making so much positive impact, and you can imagine how that can be in a nation. And that is why, for even the women in the energy, oil and gas sector, we clamor that women, there should be specific funds allocated to women, to empower women entrepreneurs in the energy sector. This is very important, because the woman's biggest problem, yes, there is the technical part of it, which a lot of women are taking on trainings now, technical trainings, to know how to get fully involved as an entrepreneur in the energy sector. We have NCDMB also doing a whole lot of work, Seplat and the likes of them, training women, on what they need to do, how to put their documents together to get contracts in these oil and gas companies, because the women feel like, every time they bid, somehow they drop, they don't even get to pass the technical aspect of the bid. And that's because most of it is out of not enough knowledge to know what to do or how to put your documents together. So you have a lot of this kind of organizations, doing a very great job at putting it together. So the woman's biggest problem in the energy sector and in a lot of sectors is finance. So we need, and we're clamoring for specific funding for women in the energy sector. In fact, as women in energy, oil and gas, we have a menstrual book. The last menstrual hygiene day for internationally, that was commemorated internationally, we launched a menstrual hygiene book where we taught girls how to calculate their period, their cycles, and all of that, because all of this is very important. And how we did it is we didn't just make it a leaflet that just tells you about menstrual hygiene, because that can be disposed anywhere. So we made it like a book form, and then the first 5-10 pages were on sensitization, on knowing your cycle, how to stay clean so you don't get infections, and all of that. And then the rest of it were plain, so that they can use it to write and do whatever they need to do. So we distributed that in quite a number of government secondary schools within Abuja. Yes. And also for empowering women as well, as women in energy, oil and gas, we had the International Youth Day, which we commemorated in 2024. And at that event, we launched the Women Go Gas, Youth Go Gas initiative. And what are we saying? A lot of mortality rate in Nigeria, apart from childbirth, exposure to carbon monoxide and different kinds of harmful gases kills our women. In fact, the typical example is if you go to a typical kitchen where they use firewood to cook and they paint the ceiling white, in 6 months, come back and see that ceiling. You see it's literally black. And what does that tell you? There's a human being who sits with that food that is being cooked. All the soot, all the gas inhalation is done by this woman. And that is why you see that the mortality, the life expectancy for women, is drastically dropping because of their exposure to all of this. So we did some sensitization, and then gave free cylinders, to these women in Nasarawa. That was done in Nasarawa State University, Kefi. So we invited the students, we invited the community women, and we distributed cylinders to them. We had lectures on how to use the basics of using a cylinder and the basic knowledge on gas, because they may think it's the regular, because there's this myth that gas is dangerous, is an explosive material, is hazardous, and all of that. And of course, we need to reorientate these women to let them know that that is not the case. If you have the right knowledge and the basic knowledge, gas is the best thing that happened to the life expectancy of women as it regards to inhalation of gases. So we did that, and also at that event we launched a gas handbook where we taught the women on the basics of gas, and we also taught them how to use gas cylinders, where to place these gas cylinders, how to routinely check for your gas cylinders on the expiration dates, how to check the expiration dates of your gas cylinders, and all of that. So we put all of that in book form, and we also distributed to the students and the women as well that were in attendance, as well as distribution of gas cylinders. Then under Women in Energy, Oil and Gas as well, we have the Strategic Women in Energy, Oil and Gas Summit and Awards that we have annually. So, and for that, for every summit that we have, we launch a project. Now, one of the projects we launched also was the women in the coastal communities, inclusion of women, in the kick against pipeline vandalism in coastal communities. So, and basically what are we saying? We had incessant cases. In fact, it's been a recurring decimal. Pipeline vandalism has been a recurring decimal in Nigeria. And we thought about going about it in a slightly, I wouldn't say different, adding a twist to it to include women, because the people that damage and burst these pipelines are the sons of women. They are the husbands of women. They are the daughters of women. So let us start this from the home. And the truth is, if a woman says a home will be fixed, it will be fixed. When a woman has stamped her foot and said things are going wrong, they need to go right, it will go right. So while we're engaging the community leaders, which are very important and paramount, it is also important to include the women leaders, to include the women who are role models in that community, to teach other women, to teach their sons, to teach their daughters on the negative impact of pipeline vandalism, and to show them the other way, which is education and empowerment, so that collectively we can have a safe energy sector. We can utilize our God-given natural resources in abundance without any being exploited, without pipelines being vandalized, and invariably we have a safer nation. I was the immediate past chairperson, national vice chairperson for the TUC Women Commission for Nigeria, and I received the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award given by the United States of America in 2024 for selfless service and work that have been done both in and out of Nigeria globally. I was awarded with the Role Model for Girl Child Empowerment Award by SRTV in London, and this was done in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports in 2023. Yes. Then yes, a couple of other ones. Outstanding NEC Member Award, which means National Executive Council for Pengassan. I received the Outstanding NEC Member Award at the very first Pengassan Energy and Labour Summit, which was in 2023. I think that happened in 2023 as well, or 2022. Yes. I grew up in Kano. I'm from Kogi State, but of course I was born in Katsina. And then I grew up for in fact, all of my childhood was in Kano. And I would say at this very point that the family plays a critical role in architecturing the trajectory of a child's life. And why do I say this? I would want to, and I say this, I'm getting, again, a bit emotional because I really love my parents and I thank God every day that they birthed me. Because my father made sure that, in fact, we used to, as a family, he made sure that whether you're a woman or a man, there was no difference in the house. He taught us self-respect. He taught us mutual respect and respect for the individual. So whether you're a man or a woman, irrespective of who you are, you need to respect the other person and you need to understand what respecting yourself means. We used to have family meetings, and at that family meetings, from the head to the last, from the firstborn to the lastborn, from the head of the house to the last child in the house will speak at that meeting. And every time he would say something, even up to the meals that we will eat, we would have a meeting about it. What do you think? What should we eat? And everybody's, in fact, then my younger brother, who's the lastborn, he would say, hey, everybody has spoken. He said, no, you have your voice. You have what you want to say. Don't rely on what everyone has said. And for me, that played, in fact, it played a critical role in making me understand life. And somehow it made me, and my dad will always say, you know, it's okay to disagree with someone, especially when it's someone who's older than you. And you know, we're in Nigeria and we're in Africa, and we have a very strong cultural setting. But it's very important how you pass that message across to the person. It has to be in a respectful manner. So I'm not this bandwagon person, and that's by virtue of the fact of my upbringing. My father will always say, be an ambassador of your humble parents wherever you find yourself. So for me, that really, it played out a lot in how I viewed life and how I'm living life. There are certain things that I see, and you know, that everybody's going that way does not mean it's the right way. So I have a way of just understanding what is right and wrong and not following the bandwagon effect. So being brought up in that kind of setting for me was very critical, and he made us understand, because he was a businessman. He used to work before with Nestle, and then he veered off into business. You know, my mother also veered off into business, and my mom was the typical Nigerian, African, supportive wife, loving, you know, and all of that. And both of them, of blessed memory, played a very, very great impact, you know, towards the woman that I am today. And I say a very big thank you to them for doing all that they did for myself and my siblings towards making us what we are today. God used them as that vessel. And if I had the opportunity again, I would, and I had the ability to choose, I will choose them again to be that vessel. I started in pre-primary in Samadi International School in Kano. From Samadi, I went to Spring Nursery and Primary School. And after that, I went to Crescent International School. They're all private schools. And after that, I went to Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. That was my first time out of Kano, you know, for education purposes. So I read building technology in ABU Zaria. And after that, I did my IT with NMPC actually. So I did my youth service also with NMPC, and then it boils down to, you know, creating a space for yourself on the table, really. Because when I came for my IT in NMPC, I wasn't the regular IT. Some people will feel that I'm a student and what am I doing? I'm just passing time. It's not like they're employing me. I work like it's my father's business. I do work that, in fact, during my IT, I was going on inspections. I was doing memos, draft memos. I was happy to do it. There were certain ITs that they were okay with. They would come, gist, you know, browse on the internet, go and buy food for the managers and what have you at the time. Well, I used to go and buy food once or twice, but I made it clear that I'm here to work and learn. And that I did. And I wanted to make my mark, and that I did. And making that mark made me stand out among all others that did their IT. And they're like, oh, anytime you're done, you're ready for NYSC, just let us know, you know, we'll be available. And of course, most of the people who gave their word on that, when I was ready to do my NYSC, I reached out and said, okay, I'm done with school, I'm ready for NYC. And even while doing my NYC as well, of course, I kept doing it. I work. If you tell me to do A, I'll do the whole alphabet. I'll give you analysis. I'll do everything. So you'll be impressed. And I'm not trying to blow my trumpet. I will be that person that I like to go the extra mile. I like to do more than what I'm asked to do. And for any woman, any young woman that I mentor, that's what I tell them. I say, that's the magic. Always do more than you're expected to do. Of course, in a positive way, not in a negative way. If you're told to buy watermelon, find out the cost of the big watermelon, the one if you cut it in parts, if you juice it, if you go the extra mile, it always gives you that extra leverage when it comes, the extra value, when it comes to eventually becoming a part of that organization and even becoming a leader as well. I remember even when I was doing my IT, there was one time, I think my first month, I was speaking, there was a lady, when I was speaking, I said, most ITs, when they come here, I see what they're doing, they're just buying food, they're just chit-chatting. She said, that is what is expected. I said, why can't I read building? I want to be going. And then they were just constructing these NNPC stations nationwide, the mega stations, even the floating stations on water. I was lucky to be a part of the team that inspected the construction of the floating stations, as well as some of the mega stations around the nation. How? In fact, some staff did not have that opportunity. I just knew that I'm a building technologist. What am I always doing in the office? Yes, there's the normal, regular admin work as an IT, but I would want to go to the field and see how these things are done. And then one day I went for my regular dispatch. And of course, everywhere I go, whether everybody knows me for that, I greet, even if you're a cleaner, if you're whatever, good morning, how are you? So I got there and I got in, I met the secretary of the then GM. I think it was Mr. Ebirogba. Yes, Mr. Ebirogba Adebayo. And his door was ajar, and then I greeted him, good morning, sir. And then I carried my file, went to dispatch. And when he was like, young lady, I said, yes, sir. How are you? He came, interrogated me, which school? I boldly responded. He was like, you're so bold and so eloquent. Which university, are you going? I said, ABU. What are you reading, building? You say, are you enjoying your time with us so far? What do you think? I said, well, I sincerely appreciate it, but I honestly would prefer it if I'm able to go out there and practically see what I'm reading, what building technology is about. And I very well know that, we're having constructions around. So I really wouldn't mind, sir, if it would be approved, that I go on some of these inspections and be a part of the team for this construction and what have you. And then again, it speaks to, for a woman and anybody, be ready for your opportunity when it comes. I may have gone to the man, maybe when the man asked me, I say, yes, I'm just okay, Timidity is celebrated in Nigeria and Africa. And the truth is, sometimes you have to jump on your opportunity as they come. I saw that as an opportunity and I didn't let it slide. I jumped on it. I told him what I expected, what I thought I was coming to do, and all of that right there. And then he called my manager. He just put it down on the extension and said, called his name then, Mr. Sokari George. He said, how are you, George? He said, and then was like, fine, sir, And he was like, I have a young girl in front of me. She says her name is, he mentioned my name, Hasiya. She said, she read building technology. She said, yes, sir, she did, sir. She's from school. She's doing her IT. He said, okay, put her on the project team for this. She's going to go on inspection for this location, and then she would also be going for the floating station. It was like magic. In fact, everybody in that office could not believe that happened. Because then we had contract staff. Even the contract staff had not even traveled out for even going to the next state to inspect, to do some record keeping and come back. And then there's this small tenderoni, cheating fry that just came and just talk, and she's going on inspections for construction and what have you. So for me, that was how I started, right? And I, of course, gave my best. It's not easy. Sometimes working in the field as a woman under the sun and all of that, is not as easy. But again, nothing good comes easy. I knew what I was going for. I knew what I wanted, and I worked with all of my heart and all of my mind. And I did that. I did my NYSC. And after the NYSC, they retained me as a contract staff temporarily. So I was working in the network development department at the time. And then, of course, when the time for regularization and confirmation came, I was then regularized and confirmed as a staff. So that's where we are. And in that time, I worked in the engineering department, I think for over 10 years. I was in the engineering department, and I saw through a lot of the rest of the construction of the stations. I was a part of the team, and then the maintenance as well. And then I manned the maintenance of the floating stations, which are the most difficult stations because these are filling stations on water in our coastal regions. You know, you have a lot to do with the technicality of how those stations were constructed. They were then constructed by Julius Berger. You know, the maintenance of those stations, they are not like regular land stations. So I oversaw that. And after that, I was moved to the NFR. NFR stands for Non-Fuel Retailing, the NFR unit of NNPC Retail. And now I'm heading the North Central region for NFR, for NNPC Retail, yes. So anything that has to do, and then what does NFR mean? NFR means anything you see on the forecourt of our stations that does not have to do with the white products. And what are the white products? PMS, AGO, DPK. So anything, if you see the Lupe, if you see Chicken Republic, you see Pizza Hut. We recently commissioned Pizza Hut at one of our locations in Wuse Zone 4. So those brokering those partnerships is the baby of NFR. And then our fuel additives as well, what we buy at the stations to add to our fuels at the station. And then generally optimizing the station and making sure that NNPC retail stations are a one-stop shop for our customers nationwide. We deliver value, we service your needs, and you know, we impact your life positively as NNPC Retail. My advice to young girls out there will be to be focused in life. And when I say focus, it's a topic that is very wide-ranged, really. Because the truth is, a lot is happening in this generation, this Gen Z. They have a lot of distractions. You need to stay focused. You need to understand your why, your purpose in life. When you understand your purpose and you are focused, any dog that is barking on the way, you see it as a distraction. Do not pay attention to that distraction. The difference between you and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is time. At one point in life, she was like you and I, or she was even like, she was a young girl in primary school. So the difference between you and anybody you see as a role model is time. You were created for more. You were created to make impact while being somebody's wife. You were created to move nations forward while being some people's children, or being some people's mother. You were, yes, or wife. You were created for impact. And do not miss that part. Do not utilize just 10% or 20% of why God created you when you can optimally maximize it up to over 90%. Be focused. You see that iPhone, now may not be the time to buy it. You see that Brazilian hair, that what they call the bone straight wig, now may not be the time. Do not compare yourself with a woman that has toiled, blood, sweat, and tears for 20 years, 15 years, before she got to that comfort zone that she can buy all of those things and it won't even impact her bank account. Do not be distracted. Be focused. To the young girls out there, now is the time to read. I can promise you, like I know my name is Hasiya, education works, focus works, diligence works, hard work pays. Do not be deceived by what you see in the social media, where you see some people dressing and most of their bodies are out, or they are selling their bodies for money. There is nothing a man can give you that you cannot earn by yourself. It is just time, and you will earn it in a dignified way. It will be longer lasting. You will enjoy it. You will know the worth of it, because there's a saying that if you worked for your money, you will know the sweat of every drop. You know the essence of every drop of sweat. But if you just get it, run into it by accident, you will also lose it by accident. It is not attaining that height. It is sustaining that height. And sustaining that height can only be done via focus, diligence, and hard work. As a woman and any normal human being, I think, you know, there are a lot of challenges that we encounter But of course, as women, we have peculiar challenges. We have challenges at the workplace. I would say one of the biggest challenge would be proving yourself. And it's not about talk. Talk is cheap. The truth is, you have to prove yourself in your career by what you deliver. Nobody nearly has never killed a bird. You have to deliver. Smart delivery. That's the way forward. Nobody is going to take that excuse that, I had to do school runs. That's why I could not. No. As a woman, you need to structure your life. So how I'm able to overcome all of these challenges in the workplace, especially in a workplace that is dominated by men, is to plan your life properly. You cannot do it all as a woman, especially as a career woman. There are certain things you need to let go. And as a couple, you would discuss this, I believe, at the beginning of all of this. What are your non-negotiables for the husband? And then what he feels that he's okay with you getting other people to do, you try to outsource it. You cannot do everything, if not you will break down. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So the way that I've been able to plan myself is organize my life. What I can outsource, I outsource. What I can do, I give it my 100% and I do it. And maybe in personal life, apart from career, it will be how women handle life's challenges, losing of loved ones. I know that losing of my parents was like a very great blow to me. Women are always, and I think men too, some men, but women are more, passionate about this. They get hit harder, by this. So basically, again, it's still planning your life. If you know you're not up to it, take your entire leave, take the time off, spend time with family, spend time doing the things you love, be able to, regenerate, recuperate, rebuild yourself and bounce back better. What I want to add and tell the young girl is there's no limit to what you can achieve. It doesn't matter what your upbringing is. It doesn't matter. There's a saying that you don't have control of where and how you were born, but what you become is what you have control over, of course, by the grace of God, because we can't take the God factor out of all of this. But there has to be a responsible human being for God's word in your life to manifest, right? I would say I was born with some sort of silver spoon, but at some point we lost the spoon. So there were times where, and I think for me, maybe if we had continued the route of that silver spoon, I may not have had this quest to make an impact and make a statement. So embrace life and the vicissitudes that come with life as part of life. Because at that time when things were really down for us and we're in the valley, I was thinking, God, why? Why do you hate us so much? Do you hate our family so much? Why us? But really that was when I understood how to manage, how not to use everything that I have in one day, how not to, So it gave a different version of life to me. And somehow looking back, really, I don't want to say I thank God for that low moment, but I really thank God for that low moment because, you have to see this side and see that side to have a balance. I was seeing all of this rosy side initially, but when we went down, it was so bad. It got really bad. It was really bad. So, and at some point it picked up again to the glory of God, So for every woman out there, and for me, which is why at those points when it was low, some people may say, oh, I'm so used to the good life. Let me look for other ways out. But I didn't think of it like that. I grew up in Kano, like I told you. I'll go to Kantin Kwari. It's a popular market in Kano. They sell wrappers. I will buy wrappers. As I'm going to ABU, I will have my wrappers in place. I was selling, the wrappers. My mom had a superstore then. Once I'm out of school, I will go, once I'm on break, I go and help her make sure that the sales she will make. And she always, in fact, she loved me so much because the sales she will make when I'm around, she doesn't make them when I'm away because I'll go, how the young ones and education has a role it plays really, in whatever you sell and upgrading that education because, Yeah, she was educated, those old school kind of ways, but I will come and then say, okay, maybe let's do it like this, people. And truly, it was bringing more people. And that's what made me realize that education is really the game changer. Really, if you sell Gary, even if you're educated and you want to sell Gary, you will sell your Gary differently from the uneducated Gary sellers. And people will just be wondering, all those packaged Gary you see in Sahad and all of that, if you check the crux of it, it is somebody who had the education to know how to optimize and maximize sales and marketing. And that is the role education plays. So for every girl out there, don't give up. You may be going through a lot now, but again, and I'm not trying to sound religious, the Bible never promised us a problem-free life. It said we will go, even though you pass through the valley of the shadow of death, you will fear no evil, for God is with you, right? It didn't say when or if. You will pass through it, and it's called passing through. So it is what you do while passing through it that will determine how long you will stay there and how soon you'll get out of it. So keep hope alive, stay focused, and the sky is just your beginning. For me, being a prudent woman, basically, without much ado, right, is the Proverbs 31 woman, basically, really. It's a woman who knows how to manage her home and manage her workplace, her career, her business place. You can never have, you see, when they say work-life balance, you can't have that, don't deceive yourself, but you can try to harmonize it, right? You have work-life harmony. It's a woman who knows how to balance it, a woman who has good emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, you know, a woman who cares for her community, a woman who thinks of the future, and not just her nuclear family, but even the child out there that was born by another woman. That's a prudent woman's child. To the girl out there prostituting, that is a prudent woman's child, and all hands need to be on deck. More prudent women need to be coming together. And for me, prudence, again, is yes, we acknowledge our challenges, our weaknesses, but we also understand the power of collective action. A prudent woman is a woman who will join hands with other women and men to make sure that the society is a better place. That is a prudent woman. And my motto is in life is never take no for an answer. Nothing is impossible, and just do it.